Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. I've seen on a fellow YouTuber's channel he had a network rail train and didn't have anything at the other end of it, so he was dragging the train around all the time. From my days of operating Vineyard, I have got some bits and pieces of modern stock left over, and I thought to myself, oh, might be nice if I was to sort of like lend this out so as he could use it. I contacted him and he was a bit reluctant at first, but I did manage to persuade him when I see him over the weekend, and he's agreed that he's going to have the DBSO for a little while. I mean, to me it's just sitting in a box, and it's a nice model, so it seems a shame that it's just going to be sitting in a box somewhere as where he could get some mileage out of her. So that's what we're going to do. So hopefully I'm going to have this ready for next weekend for the Hornby show, and I'm going to hand it over to him then to use on his layout. So I won't say which one, but I'm sure that it'll become apparent at some point where it's come from. So this is the first go at the network rail DBSO. They've since this one was modelled, they've made an alteration, so they put like a generator in here. This one hasn't got it, but apart from that, I mean, that's like doesn't really matter. This one's also got lights on, but I was never that happy with the lights. They always kind of flickered and stuff, so that they were. I think if the lights are going to be on, then they should work and work properly. That's just my opinion. So I'm going to have a go and see whether or not I can resolve that issue, so as when they're on, they stay on. So what I've got myself is a new chip and a stay alive. So I'm going to be fitting these together. Also, the pickups, this was obviously done long before the days of the Bachmann Mark IIs, so I'm going to take these bogies off and fit the Bachmann Mark II bogies on there, and hopefully that will give me some better pickups. So that I'm hoping is going to resolve the problem with the sort of the poor lighting. And the other thing I need to do is the aerial pod on the roof is missing, so I've actually picked another one of them over the weekend as well. I'm going to be fitting that. So that's what we're going to do over the next couple of days, and I'll have it ready for him hopefully by the end of this week for Great Electric Trains to hand it over to him. So the first thing I need to do is take this thing apart. I never actually built this, so this is one that I bought in finished model, so I'm not totally sure how to get it apart, but I'm guessing it's not going to be much different to sort of the normal way that you take a coach apart. So going to do that first. As it turns out, it was quite easy. I've got to be obviously a bit careful because I don't know what the situation is with the lights at the other end. I don't want to disturb them. Right, I've got it apart, so all I'm going to do now is just cut these two cables here, separate them, and then I can leave that safely to one side and just work on the chassis without much risk of damaging anything, hopefully. So what I need to do with the chassis is take these original bogies off and fit the bogies that come from the later Bachmann Mark II. So that's what we're going to do. Even though this one is just a normal coach and not DCC sort of fitted as such, the bogie arrangement is still the same, so you've still got your split axles with your pickups in. For my P4, this doesn't really work because I haven't got enough clearance between there and there to get a set of P4 wheels in. So effectively, I have to end up taking all these bits of like metal out of these bogies anyway, so it's no great shakes to actually use them for something else. Once you remove the bogies, this is what you're left with. So you've got the pickups from the split axles, and then you've got the two bits that stick up which touch something inside the coach. Obviously that's not going to happen with the new coach, so I'm going to have to either cut them off or do something with them. So next thing I need to do is look at how I'm going to mount these to the Airfix underframe. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the bogie apart, and we're now left with like this piece here which picks up off the end, so the two stub axles effectively go in there and there, and then that transmits the electric up here. As I said, this touches on something inside the Bachmann coach. Because we're not using the Bachmann coach, then I've obviously had to look at a different way of getting the power into the coach. I suppose I could have just left these tabs sticking up and just soldered on top of the tab, but me being me, I decided not to. So what I've done is just snap that tab off, and then you have to you won't just solder straight onto this because it's got like some sort of lacquer on it. I suppose that's to darken it down a bit. So get the file in now. Give that a little bit of a shine up. It's probably quite difficult to see on the camera, but that's like shone it up. Then put it in my specially made jig. Then a piece of fine wire, because you don't want anything too thick, otherwise it will impede the movement of the bogie. So just a piece of fine wire, strip it back, tin it, tinned, shorten it, I always double up on everything, but then I'm an electrician, so I suppose that's where that comes from. And then just solder it. And guaranteed the one you do on camera, they'll want to know. Just like that. So I now have it back together. All I did was just use the original pins that were sort of holding bogies on and push them back in, and then on the top I've used a couple of brass washers and just like put that little tiny bit of packing in there just to make sure that the spacers or that the pins can't close. So if the bogies do get a little bit pulled, they're not gonna come out. But they're lovely and free, and I've got me wires ready to go to me chip. So that's bogie back in. Next step is to start working on the cab. So this is what we have in the DBSO at the moment. So you've got your circuit board in there, and then it goes off to the two lighting clusters. I'm not actually going to touch any of that. I'm just going to extend from these wires here and just take that forward and put my new chip in. So that's what we're about to do. Okay, that is the installation now of the chip. So I need now to put the stay alive goes on the end of the black and blue. So I'm going to do that next. This black stuff that I'm using is like just a sleeve. It's not a heat shrink, but it's just a shrink that goes over it just to protect the wires and help against or prevent against short circuits, because as I said before, short circuits in model railway are not just bad news, they're really bad news. So for the sake of a little bit of this, it's absolutely brilliant. It's available, this come from RS, but it's available from other places as well. But I highly recommend, if you're doing stuff like this, it's better than insulation tape, because insulation tape can sometimes become unstuck, as where this stuff is designed for the job. So highly recommended for this sort of thing. Because I now have bits poking up here that originally, the way the bogies were made, etc, etc, there was never much that poked out of here, so it's now standing much higher than what it was originally. So I need to modify my interior to accommodate. So it's back to the good old saw and a bit of hacking. Preferably not over the model. That was the easy one. I've now got to take the bit out of the back here as well. I think that's going to be a bit more of a pain, so I shall do that away from camera. Right, so that's taken care of that. Not particularly a round hole, but when the seats and the windows go back in, you won't really see that anyway. So I'm not overly bothered. And this end you definitely won't see. So that's ready to go back in. So that's the next thing. Put the floor back in. I'm hoping these two cables here, or these two wires here, will sit underneath, so as they're out of sight. And I'm going to put the chip in the front end there. So if my calculations are correct, this should all line up. And it appears to. So that's good news. So that's my DBSO sort of back together now. I still need to tidy up the wiring. There's one last thing we need to do, is put a resistor between the grey and the orange. Because there's no motor in here, the chip still has to see a resistor. I didn't actually know that until last weekend when we tried one on someone else's and it didn't work. So I've got those on order, so hopefully that'll be here very soon. Now I should fit the resistor and the cab can go back together, and that should be ready for traffic. Two other bits I've got to do. I'm going to do the roof bit next, and also I only use KD couplings, but I'm guessing the train it's going to be going to is probably going to have a tension lock on it, so I need to take this off and fit a tension lock. I think it's probably the first time in my life I've ever fitted one, but it's not the end of the world. So that's two things left. So the first thing I want to do is put my aerial pod back on. I was exhibiting last weekend at Wigan with New Haven Harbour, so whilst I was there I popped over to see Brian at Extreme Etchings and picked up my aerial pod that had been missing off this DBSO. So that's the next thing, that's what we're going to fit. That's it there. All of his stuff is really fine and really nice. I'm not sure I really want all of it, but I'm just going to take the bits off I want, and then we're going to fit it to the unit. There was one last job left to do with this. When you're fitting a function only detector as I said before, you need to put a simulated load on the chip so as it thinks there's a motor there. So between the orange and grey, which would normally go to the motor, as the DBSO has got a motor in it, then we need to put a simulated load across this. So you need to use a resistor which is 560 ohms or 0.25 of a watt. Available on eBay, they're like 30 for 99p. So that's the kiddie. So I'm going to solder that in, and then once that's done, we can test this and make sure that it's going to do what we need it to do. Okay, so this is something you're not going to see every day, is a network rail DBSO poking out of my depot, but this is to just prove the lighting, etc, etc. So that's what I'm going to do now. So that's the lighting functions all tested and confirmed as working, so that's brilliant. When I got the chip and the stay alive, and I said to him I was only going to use it as a function, for functions only and not for actually running the motor, he said, oh yeah, he said, if you're just going to use these this stay alive just to keep the lights on, he said they'll stay on for ages. And I thought, yeah, okay, so like my other ones, they might stay on for sort of 5 or 6 seconds, enough to bridge any sort of gaps. And when I took this off the power, I was astounded as to the length of time that it stayed on for. So here we go. So over the next couple of weeks, I've got 2 shows to go to. So this coming weekend, I'm at Great Electric Trains. I'll be there Saturday only. So anyone who wants to come and find me, say hello, you're more than welcome to. I'll have my Patch Trains top on, so you hopefully should be able to pick me out. I do believe there's some sort of YouTube meet up at lunchtime, so I shall probably be loitering around there. And also, we're all Fine Scale, we're doing a demonstration stand, so I'll probably be making a nuisance of myself around there as well. So yeah, if you spot me and you want to come and have a word, you're more than welcome, please do. And the following weekend, we're at Uckfield. Again, if you want to come and find me, I'll have my top on. Just come and say hello. More than welcome to speak to you. Any comments, anything you want to say, I'm always open to suggestions. So yeah, if you see me and you want to come and speak to me, that's absolutely fine. So hopefully I might see one of you at one of the shows. And look, them lights are still on. It's fantastic. I'm really sort of can't believe just how long they stay on for. So that's a job well done. As I said, this is going to go off to another YouTuber now for one of his videos, so I'm not going to say who, but hopefully it will become apparent at some point.